Title: The Street King.
Gunfire cracked through the building, bullet hit walls, glass shattered, footsteps pounded. Derek and his men pushed through, taking down guards one by one. Bodies fell, shouts echoed. Derek's mind was locked on one thing: find David. He kicked open door after door until he reached the hall. Finally, they're tied to a chair. Face bruised was David. "Hold still, brother," Derek said, rushing to cut the ropes. David's voice was shaky. "Derek, what's happening? I will explain everything to you later. For now, we're leaving," Derek replied. Meanwhile, Lucy ran in, breathless, eyes darting between the two men. Two Dereks. She froze, her lips trembled.
What's this?
Back then, Derek and David were born identical twins in a city called Sky City. And don't be fooled by the name. The city was no paradise. It was a dreadful place filled with crime, hunger, pain, and broken dreams. Most of the streets of the city were filled with ruins and broken homes. No morals, no rules, or safety. Everybody has to watch over their shoulders as they are moving along the streets of the city. But despite all these hazards and unstableness of the city, Mr. Luke and his wife Rebecca managed to put a smile on the faces of their children. They would sit at the living room every evening and eat, tell stories to the twins, and teach them how to live in that ruthless city. Not long enough, their father was involved in a fatal car accident which took his life while coming home from work at night, leaving their mother alone with two identical boys to raise. Having no idea of what the future would bring, she struggled selling small things in the market, praying every day that her children would grow up to be better men. But life in the street has its way of choosing who you became. As the twins grew older, their paths divided like two different rivers. David, gentle, kind, and loving, remained close to his mother, always helping others and always humble. On the contrary was Derek, strong, ruthless, and angry at the world. Choose the dark path. He became a gangster, a drug lord, and a robber of financial institutions. He built an empire of fear. To the street, he was just not a man, he was a king. And so, he was popularly known as the Street King. However, David was deeply troubled about the path his brother has chosen to trod upon. Despite the different personalities, David still loved his brother. He was his twin, the exact replica of his image. He cannot afford to lose his twin and only blood brother to the street. So, he decided to call his brother Derek, for the last time to talk some sense to him. No matter how David tried to convince his brother to leave the street, he won't listen. Derek has already been consumed by the pleasure and luxury the street seems to offer. He told his brother and his mom to move on, that he had already found a new family on the street. On hearing these words, David was greatly frustrated. He knew the family in the street which his brother has so much trust in will one day betray him in the end. Their mother cried and begged his son not to go back to the street. But it was obvious. Derek had already made up his mind. At first, the street was cool, everything seems to be perfect and okay for Derek. He has power, money, pleasure, and everything he had ever dreamt of. And on the other side, David would always find himself hiding in his brother's shadow as they were very much alike. People often mistook him for his twin brother, Derek. Derek's life began to change when he fell in love with Lucy, the daughter of his greatest rival, Richard. Another powerful drug lord who was always known to be ruthless and inconsiderate. When Richard heard about Derek and Lucy's relationship, he only grew more hatred for Derek. But this hatred did not just grow because of their rivalry, it grew because he knew the kind of man Derek was. Derek has a lot of enemies in the street, and him being with his daughter will completely put his daughter's life in danger. So, Richard thought of a way to stop Derek's relationship with his daughter. And the only solution was death. Because Lucy also loved him so much that she cannot adhere to his father's warning and advice anymore. Lucy's love stirred something buried deeply inside him. A small piece of humanity he thought was dead. For the first time, the ruthless king fell weak. He felt regret. He remembered his mother's tears, his brother's kindness, and the innocent days of his childhood. But in the street, weakness was not tolerated, and as such it was very dangerous. His enemies noticed he was skipping meetings, ignoring deals, and losing focus. Whispers spread. The street king is falling. Richard, furious that his daughter had fallen in love with such a man, thought it was an opportunity to destroy him once and for all. He ordered his men to capture and kill Derek.
To be continued.
She came in waves, you couldn't resist.